huge thank you goes out to Akrama Tool, Nikola Pro, and Drone Quote supporting this channel at the all-electric tier. Click the link down below and support this channel for as little as $1 a month. Hey, what's going on YouTube? Will here from All Electric, back again with another Curvy Country Road Test. This is test number 18, running software version 2020.24.6.4. That is the latest software version that is out for the Tesla Model 3. Now, as you can see here, I'm trying to engage Autopilot, but they just repaved the road and haven't painted any lines on it yet. So, yes, your initial thought is, oh, well, he's not going to be able to test Autopilot on this road. And if that is your initial thought, you are wrong. So while I can't test it on the majority of the road, I'm going to fast forward here past this super hard curve. Too bad we don't get to test that today. But right up here where you can see they milled the road and there is a bump, I'm going to slow it down here. Now take a look at the painted lines on the center of the road. Now for a split second, we are going to get that gray steering wheel, meaning that we can engage Autopilot right here. So, wow, able to engage Autopilot with just about 10 feet of double yellow line showing. So Autopilot is now turned on. We have that blue steering wheel and those two blue lines. Now take note here, there are no painted lines on this road. And yes, Autopilot is still working and it's still working flawlessly. Just past the truck there, oncoming, really impressive. There is no lines on this road. And the Autopilot is smart enough to stay on the right-hand side of this road. So awesome.
Really, no big deal.
Now that was a little curve there and it did remain on the right-hand side, the correct side of the road, and we are on a straightaway now. One of the harder curves in this test is coming up. I'm a little bit worried because there is no lines on this road. So let's see what it does here. It's slowing down to 24, 22, 21, down to 21 miles an hour to successfully make that hard left-hand curve while passing another oncoming truck. So impressive. I'm blown away simply because this Autopilot system is smart enough to maintain its proper lane position without any sort of lane markings. This is huge. This is, again, the latest software update, and this is really impressive, just passing another car there with no lane markings whatsoever. As you can see from the center display, we are approaching a stop sign and this new software version, and this car is enabled with FSD, so it is going to stop at the stop sign. Now when I do press the gear stalk to confirm, it will say take over immediately. Now that's because the Autopilot system's smart enough to identify that particular intersection and know that it's not supported. Just like this one here, this yield to the right is also not supported, so I do have to disengage and then re-engage Autopilot. You see the two blue lines are back and the blue steering wheel is back as well. So going through a town here, we are limited to 25 miles an hour through this little town. We have a curve and a railroad crossing coming up, and it actually shows you the railroad crossing on the center display, that painted markings on the road. But take a look here. We are going to see on the center display that it is identifying that that is a traffic signal, and I have to confirm to go through it. You saw it had a red line right there, and then once I confirm, it turns to a green line identifying that it is going to pass through. And then almost immediately it then slows down by 3 miles an hour to let that pedestrian walk past. Really, really impressive, all the many things that the Autopilot is seeing. And then we yet again have another thing, a delivery truck on the wrong side of the road facing the incorrect direction, so the Autopilot system will not go past it. I do tap the accelerator pedal here and it does end up kind of, I guess, overriding that safety switch, like that truck is in the wrong position and it will go past the truck there. But a lot of unique situations that we're getting here. Another stop sign coming up, and we're going to make a left-hand turn here. I'm going to re-engage Autopilot. This is a really challenging curve. If you take a look at the double yellow line, we do have a really big gap in the middle, and sure enough, we get that takeover immediately. It is just, for whatever reason, not able to see when that break and that double yellow right there. So I kind of want to get out there with some spray paint. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I'm just kidding. Oh, what do we have here? Double hand, frantic wave, another Model 3. Hopefully they were also testing this road out with the full self-driving or Autopilot enabled. So I'm going to speed up the test here, and we are going to slow it back down right here because this is one of the coolest curves where Autopilot always performs perfectly. It goes from 35 down to 25 and then accelerates after the turn is over. I mean, it to me is just incredible how perfectly it is able to do this curve every time. If you go back and look at all 17 other tests, almost all those, it performed beautifully on that curve, which is really impressive for the Autopilot system. Now, this next curve coming up is not the same. We failed many times, so let's see what happens in here in test number 18. We're heading right for the embankment before I do have to take over pretty quickly there. Still 35 miles an hour until I get that takeover immediately. That particular curve is definitely still tricky for the Autopilot system. A lot of things going on there. So I'm going to slow it down once we approach this next blind right-hand curve, which let's see what happens. So it's maintaining proper lane position. We have a lot of shadows, which is also challenging to the Autopilot system. Maintaining 35 now drops down to 34, back up to 35 miles an hour. So able to handle that beautifully. Let's slow it down here for this left-hand bend, slowing down to 34, just dropping 1 mile per hour before it goes back up after the curve back to 35 miles an hour. Now let's slow it down for this blind left-hand curve where it kind of goes up and then down again. And let's see what happens. It goes a little bit to that right-hand side, but is able to pass. Great job, Autopilot. Let's slow it down for this blind right-hand turn, and it slows down to 32, so 4 miles per hour slow down before it goes back up to that 35 mile an hour speed limit. Our last curve in the forward direction, and then we are going to turn around and go in reverse. So here it is, slowing down to 29 miles per hour and able to beautifully take that, even though it drifted a little bit to the right-hand side. Beautiful job by that Autopilot. Now let's head in the reverse direction. So we are going to go in the reverse direction, starting off hugging that left-hand side. No time for a double hand frantic wave, but I hope they were using Autopilot. And the first curve is a success in reverse in this software update. So now let's speed up until we get to our next curve. This is a left-hand curve now, and it is staying in the center of the lane, slowing down a couple miles per hour, and does a beautiful job. Now we have that blind up and down curve. So let's slow down the video here and going down all the way to 29 miles per hour, but it has failed there in the past. So really happy to see that it was successful there. So now we have a right-hand curve and a huge truck coming. So slowing down to 34 miles an hour before it does straighten back out and speed up to 35. Really fantastic job. So here's our blind curve again, a long bend, and it is maintaining that speed of 35 miles an hour because it is a very wide bend. It's not a very sharp curve, and it does do a beautiful job there. No disengagement required. So we're going to speed up the video now until we get to our next more challenging curve. Now, if you remember, this is the curve that we had to take over immediately on and where the Autopilot did disengage. So we're approaching that curve right after this little bend that we have here. So I'm going to slow down the video. And this bend is tricky because we have another intersecting street. Now the Autopilot did a great job. It's so good to see that. So good to see this new software update performing beautifully. So here is our tricky intersection here. And the Autopilot hugs that left-hand side a little bit, but no disengagement required by me, the driver. So we're going to speed up the video here till our next curve, heading back into that small town that you guys saw in the first part of that video. If you guys have made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell notification so you're notified anytime I post a new video. Let's slow it down here where we have a curve going to the left-hand side where it slows down about 1 mile per hour. Not anything significant there, but no disengagement required. Now we're going downhill here, so the regenerative braking is kicking in, and we're slowing all the way down to 25 miles per hour on that sharper right-hand bend. No disengagement required again. Really, really great job from this software update during test number 18 of the Curvy Country Road Test. So we are going to speed up the video here until we get to a very significant, very challenging curve where in the other direction did require disengagement. So blind right-hand curve here before I'm going to manually slow down the car here. So you're going to see me twist down on that scroll wheel so we can get the best out of this test. So let's see what happens here. There's our split, and we're getting a red line like the car is going to stop, and then it just has no idea what to do, and it just says take over immediately. So definitely something that the Autopilot team needs to work on with that particular curve or that type of curve with an intersection. All right, let's go through this town here. We're going to re-engage Autopilot. You see the railroad crossing is coming up. I would like to see Autopilot identify speed bumps. Hopefully that's something coming in a future update. So we're following a car here, so let's see what happens with the railroad crossing. And as you can see on the center display, the line is green, identifying that it's following a vehicle through a traffic signal. So you get the same thing when you're going through a traffic light. So really cool that it was identifying that as a traffic light, because it, I guess, technically is with that railroad, but it was following a vehicle, so it did not require any confirmation from me as a driver. Now, this first part of the Curvy Country Road Test that you all know and love is very easy for the Autopilot. Not that many very sharp curves, and I've never had to disengage out of all 18 tests. Also, it's rather annoying that the Autopilot system will not let you go 5 miles per hour over anymore, so like you see here, I did disengage Autopilot manually. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video with a friend. I'll see you guys in the next one.